Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Tactical Baby Gear Podcast. I'm Beav Brody, and in this episode, Alex and I discuss, your kids bringing stuff home from school. You're going to get sick. You're going to have to deal with it. It's not always easy. Those are the things that come down the pipeline with the kids in school. We also answer some questions from you guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. That was solid.
That was about as good as the backhand on my child's booty this morning. No, I'm just kidding.
We ready to beat them up?
Just
acting
kidding.
A fool this morning?
My kids were, I say kids. One kid was, I think he's a little sick, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but he refused to put a T-shirt on today. Did not want to put a shirt on.
He wants to show the girls his muscles.
I know. And then he wanted his light-up shoes, but then didn't want to put on his light-up shoes. And so we had some breakdowns over that. And then he proceeded to... then we were trying to get them to go potty before you go out the door, and refused to do that, and started lunging himself out there. So I had to gently bring him close to me. Might or might not have been a little harder than expected, but he had pants on, so he was all right. But anyways, yeah, no, he was 3-aging. That and then the littlest one now knows how to throw a tantrum. He finally has realized to go flat and starfish.
He's ready for Beef to come over and put him in headlock.
So we were taking him to daycare, and we had been out of town for a few days at a family wedding, and so we came back, and I think they were all sort of kind of giving us the cold shoulder.
Kids?
Yeah, they were a little kind of upset at us for having left apparently, and so we took him to daycare yesterday, and he had his 18-month checkup, so he just had shots. You
guys have just got a lot going on over there,
and,
Alex. Jeez.
We bring him in, or the wife was bringing him in the daycare because I took the boys earlier, and apparently he just starfished in the middle of it, just not wanting to go. And he usually struts right in, and he's cool with daycare.
It's all the teachers are how things shift so quickly.
He's in that classroom where, excuse me, I'm getting over being sick, which I'll talk about in a second. But he's at that age where some kids, it's their first time at daycare, and others, like my kid, have at least been, at different, people taking care of them. Yeah. So they're a little more used to that separation. So all the teachers love him because he'll go play in a corner while the kids cry for that first half hour and realizing that mommy or daddy isn't there. But apparently not yesterday. He was just starfishing, not ready to do this. And now he's learned. Now he was doing it this morning too. He saw the older one acting up, so he started laying down flat, and I was like, "You're just sorry." But they're all sick. The first wave of, you're familiar with this.
Oh yeah.
I did not know. So any first-time parent out there, or someone who's been out of the game for a long time, maybe getting back into the game, might have forgotten that you're so excited in a way, it's like you're going to put your kids in daycare or school or what have you. You're going to get some time to do some things, and you're like, great, except the first month, they're basically at your house anyways because every other week they're sick. They're bringing home some
It's not even just the first
crud.
month. Things just circulate through the schools. Kids are getting sick. They bring it home. You end up getting sick.
And I used to never get sick. And again, that's why I didn't think about it when I had kids. I was like, cool, they're off to school. We're all going to get some work done. And then it's sucks. Why do I feel like I'm in a fog for 3 years? Well, it's not necessarily just because you don't get sleep. It's because you don't get sleep and your kids are bringing all this stuff home that you could probably hear in my voice that you hadn't been exposed to really in, sometimes years.
Years, or you just, you're just not exposed to a lot of those germs and a lot of that stuff and stuff. It's just crazy,
I think your kids are always just, I don't know, touching your face and just
oh, wait till you get the head lice. That was a thing. I'm not when you get that letter from the school or the phone calls that are like, hey, just wanted to let you know that somebody in the class has head lice. You need to check your kid when you get home. Oh, yeah, dealt with that. That's like you want to burn your house down. It just doesn't go away. It just keeps on going. And they keep coming, and they keep showing up, and you keep washing bed sheets, you keep washing hair, you keep combing hair, you keep buying all the lice treatment this and lice combs, and you're like, just burn that. Just burn the whole house down. Cut all your hair off.
See, I got the boys. They're just going bald, man.
Yeah, shave their heads.
Be done with it.
It's harder to do that with girls, especially with thick hair. Cameron's hair is so thick.
Yeah.
Oh, she has so much hair. And
some girls rock it pretty well, but I could imagine if the girl likes her hair, she probably doesn't want to cut off where I'll just pin them down and buzz their head.
Oh, man. What a nightmare head lice is. I hope my alien doesn't bring anything home. I hope you guys saw the alien video. That was really funny. My alien workout prepping for Area 51 raid.
Apparently only like 100 people showed up.
It was a couple thousand, I think. I saw. Yeah, there was, because I was actually in Vegas, during this whole thing, which is part of the reason I played on all of it. I was like, we was going to Vegas anyways, and I was like, wait, when is that thing? I was like, oh my gosh, that's the same weekend I'm going to be there. So we played on it, but it was in the papers and on TV and in the headlines. But I think I saw.
Maybe I think it was
briefly.
Town.
Well, Friday, very few people showed up. Saturday, I think I saw a couple thousand or 2,000, something like that. A couple thousand people showed up, and they met him out front with tanks and all kinds of other stuff.
Oh, did they? I hadn't.
Dude, they got to set the tone. You can't just have people.
Oh no,
trying to do that crap. You know what I mean?
There's a big warning sign that's like trespassers will be shot on sight.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, like if you try to cross that fence, you deserve that bullet. Like I'm sorry.
For sure. But
we got enough warnings out there. It's kind of like your kid. You're like, if you do that for the third time, you're gonna have consequences. And then they do it again. Guess what? You gotta follow through.
Yeah, 100%. You
can't just be storming bases, military bases, even if you
lips
disagree
are
or,
so dried
or whatever.
Out from it. Nevada's so
just
dry.
Out west. I was out west too in San Francisco for a wedding.
Is it that dry out there too?
It was a lot more dry than
here.
Bluffton, South Carolina.
Lips are all chapped and dry.
4,000% humidity compared to.
Dude, it was beautiful.
Even if it was
50%.
I
mean, it was. You probably had very similar to weather we had. It was just
fantastic.
70-something degrees, like just beautiful outside.
It was an outdoor wedding in September, which you still don't want to do here in South Carolina. And it was fabulous. Yeah. I just said fabulous instead of fabulous.
Fabulous Las Vegas.
I need more caffeine. We're gonna pick up the energy a little bit with some questions, though, right?
Yeah, we figured, we had you guys ask some questions a while back for Ask TBG, and haven't been able to really come together and put a good format together on how we want to do Ask TBG. So we're gonna answer some of those questions finally, and get you guys some answers. We've been slacking on that, and we just been busy and all kinds of things. So I'll stop with the excuses, but. Let me scroll through a couple of these real quick. All right. So this is from Ryan, you're going to have to help me. The way you sent these. Come here. Is this a username after the question? Username, then the question. Well, how come the first question doesn't have a username? That was email. Got it. Roger that. All right. Sorry for the confusion, folks. All right. This is from C. Lopez 1209. First time dad here. Baby's due February 29th. I just found out, and I'm not sure if I'm more excited to meet the baby or that I get to buy all the cool stuff from TBG. Any tips on what to expect besides the sleepless nights? Well, C. Lopez 1209. Congrats on your baby.
Yes.
That's fun. It's exciting. Lots of things to expect other than sleepless nights. Like your kids are going to get sick. And
you're going to feel helpless. You're going to be sick and tired. It's worth it, though.
Yeah,
I'll tell you it's worth it.
I think the short answer to that, and we say it, I feel like we're beating a dead horse, is like expect the unexpected. There's just so many things that you're not going to be prepared for, so many things that you just can't.
Well, you could maybe read about it, but until you actually do it,
I mean, we could sit here and talk about things till we're blue in the face, right? But like, you can't really. Things are going to come up. You might have heard about it before, but you're not going to be ready for it.
So to that end, I guess I would just say, like sleepless nights, but just work on your patience. Like you just gotta have patience because you're gonna have a screaming kid and they can't talk to you and you don't know why, and it's very frustrating because all you're gonna want to do is take care of this. Do anything in your power. It's kind of a weird, just instant kind of snap of your fingers that all of a sudden you're like, I'm willing to just do anything for this alien, as we were almost talking about, that's come into your life that you might have had 20, 30, 40 plus years, of your life before this human entered it. And yet all of a sudden you'll do anything for it. And you want to make, like, if it's crying, how do I make it stop in a obviously in a positive way? And you don't know. Does it need its diapers changed? Does it need more food? And especially for any mom that's trying to nurse, it's always it's not Instagram perfect every time. It's a struggle. Everyone's fumbling, everyone's learning, and it's very frustrating. Add with that the emotion. Add with that being sleep deprived. So I would just say, just try to
roll with the punches.
Yeah, take a mental note that once you start feeling your blood pressure rise with that scream, that if you just hold it, love it, and kind of check to see when's the last time it ate. Does it need a new diaper? And then
more
just realize
than not, yeah, those couple
you
things.
You just need to burp it. Surprisingly, there's a lot of times I realized that apparently my kids just needed a good burp. They're like fussing over something. It was just because like I laid them down too fast.
Right. I forget about the burping phase. I've been so out of that for a while. It's like you forget you have to like feed them and then sit there and pat their back and walk around. And
my kids spit up quite a bit. I kind of had a little bit of I guess I'll call it a reflux, but I forgot to. But yeah, you just kind of need, like, if you set them down too fast, like they're cranking. You're like, why? Like, you just ate. Why are you fussing?
I need a burp, Dad.
Burp. Yep. Sometimes it happens fast. Sometimes it'll take a few minutes. But in short, just breathe. Realize that if you're there and they're crying, it's better to hear the crying than not hearing anything. So I try to remind myself that at night, because when you first bring them home, you'll have I talked about this before? The final destination. I think I might have talked about this in a podcast, maybe like 5 or 6 episodes back. But it's. I wonder how many other parents can relate to it out there, that you have this just completely irrational fears and thoughts that come into your brain that are just. It's like, well, if I'm driving down the highway and then all of a sudden a meteor hits my car and we crash, like, it's like, what? Like, it's just beyond the realm of possibilities, but your mind goes there.
Well, there's a lot
go ahead. I was going to say, like, so those first nights, besides being sleepless, like, you'll have the monitor and everything else, or, if they're in your room. But for us, it was like, even after I had the twins, then we brought Anders home, I was like, well, I've already been through this. Like, you just have to get over that fear that they're sleeping in the next room. And, all right, there's no bumpers. There's no stuffed animals. There's the kids in a swaddle laid in the middle of the crib. Like, I burped them. Like, that's all you can do. I'm going to have to sit them down there because I have to sleep, or else I'm going to not be in a position to be able to take care of this baby. Mm-hmm. But yet you still have those irrational thoughts of, like, let me check the monitor every 14 seconds. You'll have to just learn to let go. And for someone like me, that's extremely hard because I hold on to everything. So, anyways, that's another little thing that I forgot about with the third one. It was like, why am I? Oh yeah, that's right. Like, you swaddle them, you burp them, you change their diaper, they're fed. You just put them in the middle of the crib and then you try to go to sleep.
Yeah, and then they cry.
And then they eventually cry. But crying, like I said, when you get very frustrated about a baby crying, if they're crying, they're breathing.
Yep, that's a fact, Jack. I put a lot of things in perspective in weird ways with that, where I get frustrated with my kids sometimes, whether it was in the past with things like that or currently. And then you look back, or you think back, or you read an email from a customer that had a terrible experience, or somebody lost a kid, or like really bad things happen. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? My crying kid is not that big of a deal. That's how I look at that stuff a lot of times and put things in perspective, like in the worst way, or think like I'm super mad or frustrated, or I'm at home punching a door because everything's going wrong. And then it's like you realize like, well, they could just not be here anymore for some reason, and that would be really bad. So all of a sudden, them wanting to swap beds or do whatever the heck is going on isn't that bad anymore. I'm weird like that.
Still got to follow through, though.
Oh, you
follow
know,
through
no.
on that.
Well, no, it's not that, but it's just
know.
like, it's not that I don't follow through with punishments or things of that nature, but like when you're just like, this is the worst.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, it could be a lot worse than that.
Well, just like anything. You start to put your problems out there on the table, you realize yours aren't
Don't
that bad.
Stack up so bad, yeah.
To a lot of people. So
yeah, definitely. All right. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. There was a good one here. All right. This is from Don Burgundy. Got a lot of shopping ahead of me the next few months. Any recommendations for car seats and strollers? I really liked the Ricardo racing seat, but I don't think it fits the requirements. Don, good question. Really good question about car seats and strollers. There's a bajillion and one options out there for that stuff. Like you said, the Ricardo ones, there's stuff that's kind of novelty, that like the Ricardo racing seat, like it looks cool and all that stuff. I don't know the specs or requirements, or not the requirements, but the specs on that particular seat. And I think you're right. That's more of it looks cool, novelty type product. But there's so many things to consider. I mean, you're looking at practicality, you're looking at functionality, you're looking at
budget,
safety, budget, all these different things, and trying to find this one perfect thing for you. And it can be difficult. It can be very difficult. There's a lot of things to keep in mind when I say practicality of like how easily does this car seat, for example, go in and out of the car. You don't want to be sit there fumbling with things, trying to strap seat belts into it every single time and do all this crap. So you want to make sure you get a car seat that has a base that goes into the car, then it just clips in and out.
And if you have two cars, is it how much is the second base if you want to just swap
it? Yeah.
Or does it fit into a stroller? Is that what I guess
taking into
consideration
systems.
what is your life? What does the mom and the dad's life look like? Is one going to be home? Is one going both going back to work? Are you very active people? Are you
right,
like to stay home more? One thing for me, when we had the twins, it wasn't so. We had some. Is it Britics? We had those because it went into a single. It was a double stack, but it wasn't double wide. It was in
stroller.
line.
Yeah,
and
one
so
seat behind the other.
Exactly. So we needed to find one that could fit the two car seats, but in line because we didn't want a really wide stroller.
A wide stroller seems so great until I realized this in
to
Disney
go through a
World.
door.
Yeah, you try to go through a door. You're walking through a store with tight aisles and lots of people, and this thing's twice as it's like, oh my gosh.
So that and that one worked well for if you had a 3-year-old and a newborn, you could have the 3-year-old sitting in like a kind of a regular seat and still be able to have the car seat. But another thing to consider for us was when we went to 3. So obviously I have 3 kids that are still in a car seat. So I not only did I have to get a car that's wide enough for 3, because we didn't want to have to go to like a third row, like some vans. If you don't have the bench seat, you have to then climb into a car, go all the way to the back to get a kid out of a car seat, and it's just
that's a nightmare.
That was just something I didn't want to have to do because after I already get 2 out, make sure they stand by the car because there's parking lot and the whole 9 yards. So I had to find like car seats that met all the requirements. Which, by the way, car seats do expire, so you definitely if you're going to like a
lot of places won't
like
even
if you're
sell
getting
a
one
used
from
car
a
seat.
friend or something, just
Hand-me-down.
hand me down from a friend or something, like just pay attention to that. Some people sometimes you have to. They're very expensive, so
I don't think
just be mindful.
It's not like that it has materials that
mindful.
expire either. I think it's more of a liability thing over years as requirements change over years and things like that. There's a lot of things like that expire over time.
So just something to be
insurance
mindful of.
May not cover something if it's past its expired period.
But for us, like they have some car seats are much wider with the way the handles fold in and out. If it's more the bucket seat when they're an infant going into kind of the car seat where they can be rear facing, but
or forward facing.
Forward facing, but you're putting them in and out. They're not inside the as I call it, the little bucket for like a newborn. But we had to get ones that weren't so wide, so they could fit on the bench seat in our car.
Then you're also talking about car shopping for like a vehicle that will accept 3 car seats across the back bench. I mean, it just gets crazy. Shopping for cars is another big topic. Anyways, we'll get off.
But so to that end, it's like I think you just need to take a lot of those factors in. Your budget, your lifestyle. I wouldn't go get one of those jogging strollers if you've never ran in your life. You know what I mean? If you've never ran, if you're not a runner, a regular stroller, if you're just going to want to get outside and walk with your kid, is acceptable.
Yeah,
you don't have to have you don't have to have a jogging stroller unless you actually go and jog.
Well, the jogging strollers are super nice. We had a jogging stroller and it rolled like a dream, but it had like bicycle tires on it, and the tubes were constantly getting holes in them. I don't know if it was the spokes that were poking it or what was going on. I was replacing tubes all the time. Like every third time I got it out of the car, there was a flat tire. Like it was a pain. It just wasn't. I was like, all right, give me just a regular stroller with hard wheels. I'm over this crap. And then you got umbrella strollers for more of your compact travel, quick run here or there, whatever. But there's so many different types of these things. And then I mentioned before, a lot of this is a system where you can get a car seat with a base and a stroller and all these things that work together, and the car seat clips into all the different things, vice versa, and making sure that you find a system that works well for you, because you don't want to go buy this brand car seat, then this brand stroller, and then this doesn't work with that, and like get everything the same brand if you can do that.
Yeah, I would say if there's a brand or a system that checks off enough of your boxes within your budget, I would recommend probably staying with that, just because it seems to make it flow a lot easier.
Another point to that too, though, how it folds up. Does it get compact enough to fit into your car, into your trunk? Do you have a smaller car? Do you have a bigger car? Those are things to keep in mind as well.
And how heavy it is. You know what I mean? If it's super easy, going stereotyping here, like if it's super easy for the dad to pick it up, but it's a little more challenging for the mom because the mom's just a smaller female. Like that's something to consider. Just especially for us, it was like I have 2. You know what I mean? So it was like I was holding 2 bucket seats, trying to muss it with the stroller. Like it's just a lot. Thankfully, my wife can beat me up. So.
She's a beast.
So, but just things to consider. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you do that constantly through the day, it's
crazy stroller that we have that folds up that like can fit into our backpack. That's something.
Yeah.
I don't recall. That's a cool stroller because it folds up really compact, but when it unfolds, it's like an oversized umbrella type stroller. Like it's in between umbrella and like a normal size. And but I don't
think it worked for infants, if I'm not mistaken. I think you needed some head control. Like you'd want head control,
more of a toddler type
on that
situation.
So maybe as you segue into your 3 to 6 month period when the newborn has the a little bit more head control.
But that thing was cool.
But yeah.
We looked at doing some stuff with that company. I'm trying to remember the name. I'd be lying if I said it's something right now because I can't remember exactly. Super cool.
But they are advancing rather. Having us going to baby trade shows and everything else. It's been incredible to see even just in the past 3 years how much more technologically advanced
just the
from the engineering side that the materials are super lightweight, which kind of helps again just from a male and a female from having to pick it up, put it in your cars, and then just the technology of how it folds, but yet still meeting all the safety requirements that are out there.
Well, that's like the Veer Cruiser that we sell. When we do our limited edition Veer Cruisers, I know you guys have seen that like crazy wagon thing that we sell, but that's the thing. It's not just a wagon. That thing's classified as a stroller, which means its safety requirements are outrageous.
Yeah, you got because you can push it, you can pull it. It can clip in with obviously a lot of the.
There's an accessory to purchase, but you can clip car seats into it. Specific brand car seats that Veer sells that accessory separately, but you get so much more life out of it. But the engineering side of it, with all those safety requirements, like that's why it's so expensive. And in all reality, if you look at the price of a current modern stroller that's like half decent, it's way more expensive than that wagon. Mm-hmm. I say wagon, I shouldn't even call it a wagon because it's so hybrid. It's really a stroller. But
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that obviously go into that, and just
incredible.
any other.
I mean,
any
and
other
then you get so
product
much
now.
more life out of that product because once you're done with the car seat phase of it and you have a wagon, like my kids were riding that thing, 7, 8 years old, still cruising around in a wagon.
Yeah.
You get so much more life out of something like that for less money, which is really cool. Not that I'm trying to put a hard sell on anything, but it's just super interesting. How many different kinds of products is where we were going with, just like the evolution of what's been happening.
If you're, for a lot of people that maybe travel overseas or especially military that get stationed over there, something to be considered too would be like the making sure, especially if you're driving around your kid. Let's say you're stationed in Germany, right? Like they have different laws, so you definitely need to.
There was somebody we talked to recently with Australia.
That
Andrew
apparently
was talking about that.
Apparently, in Australia, you have to make sure it's a car seat that's registered in Australia, which was interesting to learn that apparently the safety requirements of the car seat that they were going to bring with them was actually better rated than what, but it just wasn't already approved by the Australian government. So you technically couldn't use it you could use it in country, but you wouldn't be, I guess, meeting their rules and laws. So something to consider for those that either travel overseas.
He had to buy one when he was there.
Or stationed overseas, like, I think Scandinavian country, Sweden maybe, requires kids to rear face until they're like 4, I think. Don't quote me on that. But I think it's 4. That's also why they have the lowest, from a ratio standpoint, the lowest child mortality rates in car accidents, because kids rear face longer. We rear faced our kids as long as we could. My kids are a little more height challenged because I'm not the tallest person, so it was easier for us. Like their legs weren't just getting crunched up.
Yeah,
big time in our car seats just because they're shorter kids. But at the same token, like, I mean, heck, my kid's 18 months old now, and he's still rear facing. We had the boys go until they were almost 2.5, I think.
That sounds about pretty normal.
2.5, 3. I mean, because I know some people at about 12 months they flip them around.
No, not me. That's too soon.
The longer you can keep your kid rear facing where they're happy, the safer they are. Just as a little.
I keep my kids in a car seat as long as I can. Like they say those things are rated at 80 pounds, but you're not going to have your kid in that thing at 80 pounds. I mean, Cameron's 8 years old and she's like 45 pounds. Like 8, she's gonna be in freaking high school. Sitting in a car seat, like I don't like. She's in a booster seat. Kendall's still in a car seat. She's still getting strapped in. But
we got the Dino, I think it's Dino brand. That is basically just a glorified bigger chair, that straps in, that bolts in, clips right in. That again, I could see my kids when they're, it's almost like a booster seat,
right?
So. Being that my kids will probably remain small until they hit their growth spurt in high school anyways, they'll probably be able to be there until they're 7, 8, or however old you start to become, where you kind of met the requirements to just sit in a car with a seatbelt. But a lot of things to consider. But check the requirements, check the specs, and then just think about it on how it fits into your overall life.
100%. Okay. Next one. This is long, so I'm going to try to paraphrase this a little bit. But Lucky Cat 86. Congratulations to new parents. Blah, 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 blah. Backstory. Sorry, I'm going to skip some of that stuff. This is rough. We lost our baby last month at 9 weeks. Gestation. It sucks. We're ready to try again, one step at a time. I'm really sorry to hear that. A couple of questions, though, she has is, how long did you wait before you announced your pregnancy to your family and then everyone else? Also, if you have dogs, how did you react when you first brought baby home, and did you do anything to help prepare them in advance? Thanks, guys. I enjoy all the laughs, advice, and real talk.
That's some real talk. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. How long did you wait before you announced pregnancy to your family and then everyone else is the main part of this question. Immediate family, probably about a month or so. It was like, for me personally, I'll speak to my personal experience, then you can speak to yours, and I think that'll help. So when we found out Brittany was pregnant the first time, it was probably, she did the pregnancy test, the home pregnancy test, pee stick, and then she went to the doctor, got some blood work done, and they confirmed it. And so she's like, okay. And it was probably a few weeks after that where we kind of kept that secret and then told immediate family, parents, brothers and sisters, kind of a situation. And then we waited until the end of the first trimester before we announced it to the rest of the world, just for that same reason. Like, you just never know what's going to happen in that first trimester. That's when the largest amount of miscarriages happen, and the last thing you want to do is tell everybody you had a miscarriage, and you have to explain yourself all the time and all these things. So keeping that in a tight group is probably the best thing for sure. That was my experience. Yeah, it was a little bit looser the second time around with Kendall. I remember it was like we
depending
told
on how the pregnancy
a few more people, earlier on, and then it's kind of the same deal. First trimester, we announced it to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It was such a we're having twins, and my head kind of exploded. That, there was 900 other things I was thinking about. I want to say we waited. Now my mother-in-law is labor and delivery nurse, and so she's just thankfully, thankfully, at the time we weren't living in the same town as them, so it's much easier to not have to try to avoid she's not having a cocktail tonight, or
right.
Oh, she's been to the bathroom 14 times at dinner. Well, that seems odd. Especially around her mom, her mom would picked up on sniffed it out in 4 seconds. So I think we got lucky. I say lucky in that regards that we were able to kind of go longer just to make sure everything was progressing. I want to say with her mom again being we happened to be going home, and we knew that we couldn't keep it hidden just because her mom would have I think our mom was kind of expecting that sooner rather than later that we'd be trying for kids. So she's just acutely aware, looking for every little sign.
She would have looked at Emily and been like, "You have are you pregnant?"
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I want to say it was somewhere between 6 to 9 weeks for us, and I think that just had to overlap with we were in Charlotte living. We were going home to Bluffton. And I want to say it was one of those 6 to 9 week windows where it was well, we know we couldn't really keep it from her mom. So we invited my parents and over with her parents, and we told them. Then I think we waited another week or two to try to tell family members, immediate brothers, sisters. And then again, it was about those 12-week mark. I think after we had the 12-week ultrasound is when we told everyone. Because made my sister's birthday the best birthday ever, because that's when we found out we were having twins, and I called my sister on her birthday.
Nice.
And I was like, hey, to one-up you on your birthday, you're going to be an aunt.
Twice.
To 2 more, because we already had one nephew. But, yeah, it was, and then the second go-around, like I said, I think we started letting, you knew right out the gate. You knew right out the gate.
We should tell that story real quick. It's pretty funny.
So Beav and I,
we were at your house.
We were at my house having a meeting. We didn't have the full-blown office set up yet. I think it was getting worked on
this
or
was
whatever
early
else.
On. I mean,
we're having a business meeting, and I believe the wife had just finished exercising or something, so she was upstairs taking a shower. We were down at the kitchen table, trying to run tactical baby gear, and all of a sudden she starts hollering from upstairs, "Hey, Alex, get up here!"
And you're like, "I'm trying to work."
B's like, "Oh, I think Emily needs you." I'm like, "She knows we're working right now. She can wait. It ain't life and death. She can wait." She hollers again. And then B's like, "No, Alex, I think she's really calling you." I think she's really calling you. I'm like, so I walk upstairs, and I'm about to. I turn the corner to go into the bathroom, and I'm about to be like, "Hey, we're having a meeting. This is work time. I know I'm home, but how do you think we pay the bills?" She's holding the pregnancy test, and now we were not even remotely attempting to have another one. This was I mean, my kids are only 22 months apart. We just, I wasn't even sure I was ready to have a number 3. You know, someone else made that decision for me.
Trip to Bermuda.
But she's holding the stick, and she was like, and she had forgotten about it. Like literally, like she was like, my stomach kind of, things just feel off. Like, let's just rule it out that I'm pregnant. And she, like, I guess took the pregnancy test, took a shower, and forgot about it. Came out, saw the positive indication, and about lost it. So here I am, completely blindsided, thrown for a loop, and then I have to walk back downstairs to Beav, and I'm like, how good are you at
keeping a secret?
Keeping a secret. He's like, I'm pretty good. I'm like, well, Emily's pregnant, and you're gonna know, like,
before everybody,
before everyone, like a month or two before everyone. But the second go around, like, I think we, thankfully she handled, we were very lucky that she handled, a twin pregnancy, a multiples pregnancy rather well. So we kind of, thought that was a good indication that she'd handle a singleton, pretty well. So we started telling people, I think, much earlier in that process.
It's funny how much, it's like, you'd say I was the first one to know. And that was the craziest thing to me. I've mentioned this before, I know, but like early on, especially when I was running tactical baby gear by myself, the only one. And I would get these emails from people who would be like, hey, I want to order a bag to surprise my husband and tell him we're pregnant. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool, And then I'm like, wait, I know and he doesn't know, and then I just like felt so weird knowing that all these dudes were having babies and they didn't know it, but I did. It was just such a crazy, and I'm sure we still get it all the time. I just don't see all those emails, but it's crazy.
It's quite the responsibility, and we try to handle it the best we can.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun to be part of people's story like that,
Oh yeah, but I would say. If you've had some complications, that telling the world, I'd wait the 12 weeks, get through that first trimester.
For sure. The second part of that question was, if you have dogs, how did they react when you first brought the baby home, and did you do anything to help prepare them in advance? Alex, how did your dogs react?
Like I said, we went, like the first animals I brought into my home were
kids. Twins. Alex doesn't do pets. So I've got dogs, and I have quite an aggressive German Shepherd who's trained that way and doesn't do other people well. But with that said, the dogs have sensed the pregnancy throughout, and they have such good sense like that. But when we brought the baby home, I was very, very cautious about that because I didn't know how this was going to go either. So we kept the baby in the car seat. I held it up really, really high. I think Brandy actually walked in first. I think we brought in a blanket or something that had the baby scent on it and let the dog smell that. And he was just excited. He hadn't seen us in days, so he was excited to see us in general. And but I brought the car seat in, like held it up really, really high and slowly let it down. He's sniffing up real high, and then he seemed totally, and then he was just wagging and excited and like, okay. I'm like, all right, cool. He wasn't being his normal aggressive self. And since I've learned that he's only like that around adults, little kids that he's not intimidated by because they're the same height as him, could care less. Couldn't care less.
So you did bring like
I brought we brought something in if I recall correctly that had the scent of the baby on it, and we did that especially the first time. The second time I was less worried about it. He'd already been around a kid for a year and a half, 2 years, and I knew how he was reacting. He was starting to become a little older and a little less aggressive towards things. He was totally comfortable with us in the house and all this kind of stuff. So I was less concerned about the second time. Moxie, she just wanted to like lick a baby all day. I wasn't worried about her, but
I guess a lot takes like I would imagine. I've just heard. I grew up with dogs. If you got a dog that likes to bite and nip. Anyways, then you might need to be a little more cautious as far as trying to introduce it. But they, like you said, they got such a good sense of smell. Like, the dog probably knows that the female's pregnant before the female knows. It's like they pick up on that.
Something I will be
instantly
that you should be very cautious of, especially if you have a big dog, is do not leave your child unattended laying on the floor if you have a big dog, because they will go try to lay on that kid. Like, they will smother a kid. Like, and I know that Austin Weiss was terrified. He had this big, great Mastiff that died, unfortunately, like crazy random dog death. But he was terrified that this massive 150-pound dog was going to go like smash his daughter. And I've seen, because dogs like you go lay on the ground right now, and the dog wants to come like lay and play and do these things with you. So it's the same thing with the kids. So be very, very cautious leaving your kid on the floor. Like, even if it's like, I'm just going to run to the refrigerator and grab something and come back, like, be super duper careful.
I wouldn't have, makes sense, but I wouldn't have initially thought of that.
I can't work out at home. They'll jump all over me. Even the kids now, like when they do gymnastics at the house and they're like tumbling around on the floor and doing things, the dogs are like trying to jump on them and play and roll around, and like, it's innocent, but the dog's twice the size of them. So you gotta be careful. Very careful. All right. One more question. Man, you guys got long questions. I think we're going to have to make these a little more concise. All right, I'm just going to read the whole thing. Let's find the question within this. I have my first coming in October. My wife's fourth child. Feeling like a total rookie, but she's been super graceful with me and gives me more confidence than I can imagine. I'm excited, nervous, scared, and every other feeling under the sun, as I imagine all parents to be are, especially first-timers. I was going to ask about the dog situation, so thanks to those who responded to that. Super helpful. One fear is trying to not make my stepkid feel like I play favorites, make them feel involved and get their one-on-one time with me as well, but I'm sure like everyone else, I'll come up with a game plan for that as I go, because I love and appreciate them just as much as my own and want them to know and feel that. Other than that, we've been buying the necessities for months, preparing, found out the sex of the baby in advance to make it a bit easier. They aren't joking when they say having kids is expensive, but worth every penny. We waited until we were around 20 weeks to share. Ryan, you failed. That's not a question. That's a story.
No. How to not make sure your kids have, as a favorite.
I mean, there's a lot. This is packed with lots of different things. This was asked by Mike Scundy. So Mike, Mick Scundy. Thanks for submitting this.
I struggle with that constantly, especially when I didn't have the third, because I mean, there's two right there. Like, it wasn't like one had all my attention, then I started divided. It's like I was divided from day one. So how do I make sure I don't just pick up the same kid more than the next kid, and I think it's just something, as long as, like, if you're already mindful of it, like that's step one, you know what I mean? That you know what I mean? Like, that each kid's a little bit different. One kid might develop a personality type that meshes just a little bit better than, with and I think that's fine, and that's healthy, and that's natural, and I don't think it's like you need to be worried about making a favorite over, some other kid, unless you truly like start just, one kid's like, I want to, play catch with me, and you're like, no, go away, I'm gonna only play with Tom, like then I'm sure a kid will start to feel neglected. But in the beginning, obviously babies just, I think that's a communication with kids, especially if they're a little bit older. Hey,
well, get them involved with you.
The baby is needing a bottle, so can you help me, or I'm going to do it, but come sit with me and talk to me or whatever. But I know for me, it's still a little bit of making sure I don't give one of my kids any more or less of the intention to feel like I'm being a favorite just because they're right there.
It's tough.
I'm dividing, but
I feel guilty sometimes because I'll have an experience with one of my kids that the other one didn't get to have, and I almost feel guilty about it. And I don't want, like, Cameron goes to gymnastics on Saturday mornings from 9:30 to 12:30, which means Kendall and I, she usually comes with me. We'll drop Cameron off at gymnastics, and then Kendall and I will go do something for a little while. So it's like just me and her one-on-one time, which is fun. I love it. It's great for us. We have a blast, but then like we'll do something super fun. I'll be like, oh man, Cameron didn't get to do that, So it's very interesting. You'll feel guilty about it at times, but just know that you're gonna have experiences with the other child that the other one didn't get to have either, and that's just the balance of it, and it's just what it is, So you'll end up with like a different relationship with each one of those kids separately, and then a whole nother one when they're together, so this is what it is. I think you're already ahead of the game by recognizing it, for sure. But I wouldn't be overly concerned with it at this point because you recognize it. I think you'll be just fine. Cool. You guys, there's a podcast coming up. Actually, I think it's going to be the next podcast. We go next week.
Yeah, but we'll still need one
there might be.
that.
Yeah. Should we tell them who it is?
No.
You don't think so? Ryan says yes. We got a lot of great guests. I'm just going to say this. We have some great guests coming up throughout the rest of the year. We've got some really awesome guests, some women on the show. We've got some awesome guests. One huge guest that we're super excited about. Just keep listening. We appreciate you guys. You guys have given us some tremendous feedback and support on the podcast and tell us how much you guys are loving what we're doing and just the real talk about the struggles of parenting. And there's some just awesome stuff coming up, and I couldn't be more excited. So I hope you guys stick around to listen to that. So make sure you subscribe to continue listening if you're not already. And we'll see you in these next upcoming episodes. Peace.